Hey guys, welcome to Deryck Teaches Tableau, Lesson 1. We're going to start off as if you've never seen Tableau before, give you a nice introduction, good for beginners. Let's get into it. So I've downloaded the 14-day free trial version of Tableau. And once you download and install it, this is the first thing you'll see. As soon as you open it, you'll notice that there's a connection menu here in which you can connect to all of your raw files, your raw data. So I have some raw data with me here. I'm just going to show it to you. I have a Tableau folder here, and I've got an Excel sheet here that has location data and ticket information. So this data simulates having an airline. Ticket information represents the tickets purchased, when they were purchased, when the flight is, and who purchased them, those sorts of things. And then I also have a CSV file, which looks something like this. And the CSV file has the route information and some pricing information and the amount of time and distance traveled for each of the route codes. And also in the route the route and pricing information, I also have the destinations and the sources of the travel, cities and countries. Let's close these files now, and then let us import these files. So the first thing I want to do is I want to analyze my ticket sales, my ticketing data. Let's import the Excel spreadsheet. The file is called inspection data raw. I'm just going to open that. I have to select it first. So there's two sheets in my Excel spreadsheet. There's the tickets and the location. I can start analyzing my ticket information by taking the ticket sheet here and then dragging it here into my analysis pane. You can immediately see that all the data in the Excel spreadsheet is now I can view it in a preview file, a preview pane at the bottom of this window. And my data sources are up here in the top. I only have one data source, tickets. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to do some small modifications before I start analyzing the data. And I can do that right away in this preview screen. So what I want to do is I want to go here to my sales agents. The column here with my sales agent information has a lot of information. Has the name of my sales agent, some sort of tag, it looks like employee number, and then it actually has the employee number in it. But in order to make my data visualizations a little more simple, I just want the first name of each of the sales agents for which the tickets are sold to. So what I can do is there's a drop-down window here in which I can do some simple edits. I'm going to do custom split, and I want to do the split on the first hyphen. Keep this at first and select OK. So now you notice that a new column has appeared in which the first name of the sales agents is present. So what I can do is I can remove or hide the column with all of the sales agent information. Just keep the one with the sales agents first name. So I'll just hit the drop-down window on agent employee, click hide, and I can change the name of the column of the first name, rename it, name agent. Let's start analyzing the data. So the first thing, I want to understand which of my sales agents are selling the most tickets. I'm going to go to sheet 1. And this is where I start creating the visualizations for the data for Tableau. So immediately what I can do is I can find the column for sales agent. So the column here is name agent. And in the workspace, there are a number of shelves. There's a shelf for columns and a shelf for rows. So I want to create a bar graph. And each of the columns of the bar graph will represent a different agent. So name agent I'll put here in column. And then I want to know how many times that name agent appears. So I'm going to take the same name agent and I'm going to put it in rows. And you'll notice immediately I'm getting a visualization which it isn't quite what I want in terms of the visualization. It isn't actually giving me any information. And the reason is, in order to create a proper visualization, I have to put in dimensions and measures. You notice here that there are dimensions, there are measures, and ideally actually what I want to do is put the measures as the rows. But there's a little trick in some of your dimensions in terms of how you can use them. You can change a dimension into a measure by activating a change in the attribute. So you notice that there's a drop-down window. Each of the columns, as I drag them onto a shelf, turn into a pill shape, and they're actually called data pills in Tableau. And when I hover over the data pill, these drop-down windows appear. So if I hit a drop-down window here on rows, you'll notice that this data pill is a dimension. I can change it to a measure by indicating what measure I want. And so I want to count the number of times that that name agent appears. So I'm going to change it to a measure and change it to count. And immediately I get the bar graph that I want. So I want to separate this data not just by columns but also by color. So what I can do is I can take name agent and I can drag the color over the name agent column over to the color markers, and immediately I get my sales agents in different colors. So you'll notice for the time period that I have, Jane sells the most tickets. And I also have an NA. So what happens is that there are tickets being sold, and they're being sold without an agent. We can go back to the data and take a look at which agents are NA. Here's one. Why is there a ticket sold but there's no agent? And this is kind of interesting. You'll notice that a lot of the other details here are NA. And this is why. So in our ticketing data, there's some repair and maintenance data in between. And what's happened is that our repair crew are test flying the airplanes, and when they're test flying it in the air, the airplanes are in the air, it gets registered as a ticket sales. But it gets registered as a ticket sales without any payment information. So this is confusing our data. What we can do is we can go back to our sheet and we can add the name agent to our filter, and we can remove the NA. Apply. OK. And the NA is gone. So now we only have real ticket sales. If we go back to our data, let's just take a look at our data for 1 minute. You'll notice that the data covers 3 years, a whole 3 years of data from 2013 all the way to the end of 2015. What I really want to do is I want to look at the last year of data that I have. Going back to sheet, I can look at the date. Let's take the date of the flight, because what we're going to do is we're going to assume that the final sale ends once the flight occurs. Up until when the flight occurs, customer can always do a refund or change. So we're going to take the date of the flight as the accurate way of measuring the time in which the purchase occurs. So you'll notice here, immediately I'm given a choice of what kind of date or data I can filter on. So I want to filter on years, and then hit next, and then I can select the year. So I'm going to select 2015, select apply, and OK. Well, that's interesting. So for all 3 years, when I looked at the data, clearly Jane was the highest selling agent in my sales team. But once I looked at 2015, I can see that Bob has caught up. In fact, Bob has sold only 2 less tickets than Jane. And then Pratima is still close. She's sold 151 tickets. So all 3 of our sales agents are doing quite well, and they have about even sales. If I want to space out my graph and make it a little better, I can widen it out, and then I can change the title of my graph. So I can change the title into Sales by Agent for 2015. And that is our first visualization. And that's all we have for today in Lesson 1. In Lesson 2, we'll learn how to merge the data and do internal joins. And then hopefully we'll get around to creating a story or creating a dashboard in Tableau. So stay tuned.